with you something that is simple but not always easy to see. When we talk about connection between two people, it is never just about attraction, it is about harmony. It is about what allows two people to grow together without creating unnecessary weight. Many women wonder why some men slowly distance themselves, why interest fades. Often it is not because love disappeared, but because certain habits quietly poisoned the connection. The first thing to understand is awareness. Without awareness, you will continue repeating patterns that you do not even notice. Men are not moved away by great storms in a relationship. They are often moved away by small drops of water that fall again and again until the bucket overflows. One of the habits men find difficult is constant complaining. When words are always heavy, when nothing feels enough, a man begins to lose the lightness that love should bring. The human spirit is drawn toward peace, not noise. If you want him to stay, learn to create space where he feels he can breathe. There is a quiet power in the way we speak, and often people do not realize how much energy is carried inside every word. A relationship is a place where both people come to rest, to recharge, to feel lighter after facing the weight of the outside world. But when the home, the heart, the very space of connection becomes filled with constant complaining, something begins to shift. At first, it may seem small, perhaps even harmless. A complaint about the weather, about the traffic, about work, about what he did not do or did not say. But like a slow dripping tap, these small complaints do not disappear. They collect. They pile up. And one day the room that should feel peaceful becomes heavy. A man often enters a relationship with the hope that he will find encouragement, support, and a sense of calm with the woman he loves. But when what he meets most of the time is a stream of negativity, even if unintended, he starts to feel that the relationship is no longer a sanctuary, but another battlefield. Complaining is not just about the words themselves. It is about the tone, the feeling, the atmosphere that surrounds them. Every time a complaint is spoken, a little bit of joy is replaced with frustration, and over time this frustration grows stronger than affection. Now it is important to understand that men are not looking for silence or for women to never share their feelings. Expression is natural and needed. But there is a difference between sharing a genuine concern and complaining about every little detail of life. A genuine concern is spoken once with clarity. It is followed by a search for a solution, and it comes from a place of wanting to make things better. Complaining, on the other hand, is repeated again and again with no intention to change, and it comes from a place of dissatisfaction that refuses to let go. The human mind can only take so much repetition before it begins to resist. Imagine you plant a seed in soil. For it to grow, you need water, light, and care. If instead of water you pour drops of poison every day, the seed will never bloom. Words of constant complaint are like poison to the heart of a man. Even if he loves deeply, even if he tries to understand, there will come a time when he feels drained, when the very thought of entering the relationship brings tension instead of peace. And that is when distance begins, not in one sudden step, but slowly with every complaint that piles upon the other. What makes this habit so destructive is that it often does not feel dangerous in the moment. Many women believe they are just expressing how they feel, that they are just sharing what bothers them. But when this becomes the dominant form of communication, it changes the entire rhythm of the relationship. A man is drawn to warmth, to laughter, to lightness. He wants to feel that the time spent together lifts him, not pulls him down. If every conversation becomes a reminder of what is wrong, then eventually he starts to avoid the conversation, and then the connection itself. The solution is not to suppress feelings, but to transform them. Instead of focusing on constant problems, choose to focus on gratitude. Gratitude is like sunlight. It gives energy to both hearts. When you acknowledge the good in him, when you notice his efforts, no matter how small, he feels valued. And when he feels valued, he naturally wants to do more. A man who feels appreciated will always give more than a man who feels criticized. Gratitude is the water that allows love to keep growing. Complaints dry out the soil until nothing can bloom. It is also about balance. Of course, there will be moments when you need to express disappointment or discomfort. But when you balance every negative word with several positive ones, the energy shifts. Instead of only pointing at what is missing, start shining a light on what is present. Instead of saying, "You never do this," you can say, "I really appreciate it when you do this. It means a lot to me." This small shift changes the entire experience. One feels like a burden, the other feels like an invitation. In the end, men find constant complaining disgusting, not because they are weak or unwilling to listen, but because it creates an endless cycle of negativity. No one wants to live inside a storm that never ends. Love is meant to be a shelter from the storm, not the storm itself. And if you truly want a bond that lasts, then remember this truth: joy will always attract, while complaint will always push away. So let the words you speak become a source of light, not shadows. Speak less of what drains, more of what uplifts. Because in the end, love survives not in the noise of complaints, but in the quiet strength of gratitude. Comparison is one of the silent poisons that can eat away at the heart of a relationship. At first it might sound harmless, perhaps even playful. When a woman says, "Why can't you be more like him?" Or, "Look at how they do things. Why can't you do the same?" But these words carry a heavy weight. Every time a man hears that he is being measured against someone else, what he feels inside is not encouragement, it is inadequacy. He starts to question if he is good enough, if his efforts have value, if he will ever be appreciated for who he is rather than for who he is not. And slowly, love, which once felt safe, begins to feel like a competition he never asked to join. The truth is, no human being likes to feel that they are constantly being compared. It takes away the uniqueness of the individual. In relationships, comparison works like a slow erosion. Each remark chips away at admiration. Each side comment creates a crack in trust. And what was once a strong foundation begins to weaken. Men in particular often remain silent when faced with comparison, but silence does not mean acceptance. Silence often means they are carrying the disappointment inside, and that disappointment eventually turns into distance. What many women may not realize is that men already live in a world of comparison. They are measured at work, they are measured in society, they are measured against other men in terms of success, appearance, strength, or status. When they come home, when they come into the relationship, they long for a place where they can simply be themselves without judgment. If even in love they are told they fall short, then where is the sanctuary for their soul? A relationship should be a refuge, not another arena where they feel they must prove themselves again and again. Comparison also blinds us from gratitude. When the focus is always on what someone else is doing better, we stop noticing the effort that is right in front of us. A man who works hard, who tries in his own way, who loves in the way he knows how, feels unrecognized when the only thing highlighted is how another man does it differently. Gratitude is about seeing the intention, the effort, the small details that show care, but comparison clouds the eyes, so even the best intentions look small, and eventually he may wonder why he should keep trying at all. Think of it like planting a tree. If you constantly compare it to another tree, saying it does not grow as tall, or its leaves are not as green, or its fruit not as sweet, then you miss the beauty of the tree in front of you. You may even stop watering it, because in your heart you have already decided it is not good enough. But if you appreciate it for its own nature, you nurture it, you protect it, and with time it grows into something strong and beautiful. Relationships are the same. If you nurture the person for who they are, they will grow, and give you more than you ever imagined. If you compare them to others, they will wither under the weight of being unappreciated. What makes comparison truly damaging is the message it sends. The message is simple. You are not enough. For a man, nothing hurts deeper than feeling he is not enough for the woman he loves. And when he begins to believe this message, even if unspoken, his energy changes. His enthusiasm to give fades, his desire to share weakens. His joy in the relationship is replaced by quiet resentment. And resentment is like a seed that, once planted, can grow into coldness, distance, and eventually separation. The way forward is not complicated, but it requires mindfulness. Instead of comparing, choose to recognize. Instead of pointing to someone else's example, point to his strength. Instead of wishing he was like another, remind him of the ways he already adds value to your life. Small affirmations like, I appreciate the way you do this, or I love that you always try for me, carry more power than any comparison ever could. What you water is what grows. If you water gratitude, love grows. If you water comparison, disappointment grows. In the end, men find comparison disgusting not simply because it hurts their pride, but because it kills the very spirit of partnership. Love is not about being better than someone else. It is about being better together. And when you let go of comparison, when you replace it with appreciation, you will find that the man in front of you gives more, loves deeper, and stands stronger by your side. So let your words remind him that he is enough. Let your eyes see him for who he is, not who he is not. Because in love, the greatest gift you can give is to make someone feel valued exactly as they are. Control is one of those habits that slowly takes away the natural flow of love. At first, it may not even look like control. It may appear as guidance, advice, or just a suggestion. But when it becomes constant, when every action, every decision, every move is directed or corrected, then the relationship begins to lose balance. A man who once felt free and alive in the relationship starts to feel like he is trapped inside invisible walls. He may not resist in the beginning, but deep inside he begins to feel that his individuality is being erased. Love is never about ownership. It is about partnership. When one person tries to hold the reins too tightly, the other feels suffocated. Control does not only dictate what a man does, it sends a silent message. I do not trust you to make your own choices. And that message cuts deep. Because every man wishes to feel trusted, to feel that the woman he loves believes in him, respects his judgment, and values his independence. Without trust, he feels diminished. And no one wants to stay in a place where they constantly feel small. The difficulty is that control often comes from a place of care. A woman may think she is protecting him, guiding him, helping him avoid mistakes. But what is forgotten is that mistakes are part of life. Growth comes through experience, and when a man is denied his space to act, he is denied his space to grow. A relationship should be a place where both people expand, not where one person shrinks under the command of the other. Imagine a bird in the sky. It soars freely, it chooses its path, and it moves with grace. If you try to hold that bird too tightly in your hands, you may stop it from flying, but you also stop it from breathing. Love is like that bird. It needs room to breathe. It needs freedom to move. Control is like a cage, and even a golden cage is still a cage. At first the bird may sit quietly, but in time it longs for the open sky. For a man, freedom is not about doing whatever he wants without consideration. True freedom is about feeling trusted and respected enough to make choices, to have space, to live as himself. When control replaces freedom, resentment grows. He may still stay physically in the relationship, but emotionally he begins to retreat. And once his heart starts building distance, the connection begins to weaken in ways that are hard to repair. What makes control so damaging is that it often comes disguised as love. But love is not about forcing someone into your mold. It is about embracing them as they are. The beauty of a relationship is not in sameness, it is in difference. Two different people bringing their uniqueness together to create harmony. Control destroys this harmony because it demands sameness. It demands obedience, it demands the erasure of individuality. And without individuality, admiration fades. There is also the reality that control breeds resistance. The more you try to push someone into your way, the more they resist. Not always openly, but silently. They resist with silence, with withdrawal, with lack of enthusiasm. They may comply in action but rebel in spirit. And what is a relationship worth if the spirit of it is lost? The path away from control is trust. Trust that he is capable. Trust that he can handle his own challenges. Trust that even if he fails, he will rise again stronger. When you show trust, you empower him. When you empower him, he naturally wants to give more, to share more, to stand taller. And this is the paradox of love. The less you try to control, the more you actually inspire the other person to give you what you long for. So when you feel the urge to direct every detail, pause and breathe. Ask yourself, am I leading with love or am I leading with fear? Fear controls. Love trusts. Fear holds tightly. Love lets breathe. A relationship built on fear will always suffocate. A relationship built on love will always flourish. In the end, men find control disgusting, not because they resist structure, but because they resist losing their essence. A man who feels caged will eventually long for escape. A man who feels free will willingly return home again and again. So remember this truth. Love does not grow in cages, it grows in open skies. Give freedom and in return, you will receive loyalty, devotion, and a love that does not fade. Neglect is one of the most painful experiences a person can feel in a relationship, and yet it often happens quietly without either side fully realizing it. A man may not always ask for much in words, but deep inside he longs to feel seen, valued, and acknowledged by the woman he loves. When his efforts, his presence, or his sacrifices go unnoticed, it creates a deep emptiness within him. Over time, this emptiness grows into a distance that no amount of words can easily repair. Neglect is not always about grand gestures. It is about the small daily acts of attention that either strengthen or weaken the bond between two people. In the beginning of many relationships, attention flows naturally. Every smile, every detail, every little thing he does is noticed and appreciated. But as time passes, some women fall into the habit of taking those efforts for granted. The dinners he pays for, the problems he solves, the times he shows up when needed. All of this begins to fade into the background. And without appreciation, even the strongest man starts to feel invisible. This invisibility is not about being ignored in one moment. It is about a pattern of being overlooked day after day. For a man, feeling invisible to the one person he loves most is heavier than facing rejection from the world. Outside, he may be criticized, measured, and doubted, but when he comes home, he hopes for recognition, for gratitude, for a reminder that his presence matters. If he does not receive this, then what should feel like a safe harbor becomes just another place where he is unseen. And when home does not feel like home, he begins to search for peace elsewhere. Neglect often comes disguised as business. A woman may not mean to ignore him. She may be occupied with her own responsibilities, her own stress, her own priorities. But when communication, appreciation, and care stop flowing, the result is the same. The man feels like he no longer holds importance in her life. And when importance fades, love begins to weaken. A relationship does not break only through loud arguments. It often breaks in silence, in the quiet moments when one partner no longer feels that they matter. It is also important to understand that neglect is not just about physical absence. A man can sit right next to the woman he loves and still feel neglected if her attention is always elsewhere. If her words are distracted, if her eyes are always on her phone, if her energy is constantly directed to others but rarely to him, he feels abandoned even in her presence. Love is not measured by time alone. It is measured by the quality of presence. To be fully there, even in small moments, carries more weight than hours spent together without connection. Neglect also destroys motivation. A man who feels unappreciated for what he already gives will not be inspired to give more. He may begin to pull back his energy, doing only what is necessary rather than going beyond. This withdrawal is not because he stopped loving, but because love cannot thrive where it is not acknowledged. It is human nature. What is rewarded is repeated. What is ignored slowly dies out. To heal this, a woman must practice recognition. It does not require elaborate words or constant praise, but it requires sincerity. Simple acknowledgments like, "I see how hard you are working," or "I really appreciate what you did today," have the power to fill his heart and renew his energy. Gratitude is the antidote to neglect. And gratitude is not just spoken, it is also shown through actions. Listening attentively, being present, making time, and showing care in ways that remind him he is valued. The truth is that every man, no matter how strong he appears, carries a child within who wants to feel special to someone. When neglected, that inner part feels abandoned. But when acknowledged, when cared for, when seen, that inner part blossoms, and the man gives back with even greater love and devotion. Neglect is disgusting to men because it makes them feel invisible in the very place where they want to shine the most. And invisibility in love is often more painful than rejection. So if you want your bond to grow stronger, never allow the man you love to feel like he does not matter, because once he feels invisible, his heart will begin to disappear long before his body does. So keep your eyes open, your heart present, and your words filled with gratitude. For love lives only where presence and appreciation are alive. Drama is one of the heaviest weights a relationship can carry. At first it may even seem exciting, a little spark of emotion, a burst of energy. But when it becomes constant, it does not create passion. It creates exhaustion. A man does not step into love to fight endless battles or to live inside storms that never calm down. He steps into love with the hope of finding peace, support, and joy. But when drama takes over, when every small matter turns into a mountain, when every conversation ends in conflict, the relationship becomes a place he no longer associates with rest, but with tension. And no one, no matter how strong, wants to stay where they feel constantly drained. Drama often begins with small sparks. A disagreement about something minor, a misunderstanding, a forgotten detail. But instead of being solved with calmness, it grows larger through anger, accusation, and emotional explosions. A man may try at first to defend himself, to explain, to make peace. But when he realizes that peace is never enough, when he sees that the same storms repeat again and again, he starts to detach. He may still remain present physically, but his spirit begins to look elsewhere for quiet. The problem with drama is not only the arguments themselves, it is the atmosphere it creates. Constant drama fills the relationship with instability. A man never knows what will trigger conflict next, so he begins to walk on eggshells. Instead of feeling free to speak, he measures every word. Instead of feeling joy in sharing, he holds back. And slowly, the natural flow of the relationship dies. What once felt like openness now feels like caution, and what once felt like love now feels like a burden. Men are naturally drawn to peace. After facing the pressures of work, responsibilities, and the outside world, they long for a relationship that feels like a safe place to return to. But when the relationship itself becomes another battlefield, when the one they love constantly pulls them into chaos, they begin to feel that there is no rest anywhere. That is when love starts to weaken. Not because the man no longer cares, but because the constant noise drowns out his desire to give. It is also important to see that drama is often fueled by holding on to the past. Many women bring up old mistakes in every new disagreement. They keep reopening wounds instead of letting them heal. For a man, this creates deep frustration. He feels that no matter what he does, the past will always be used against him. And when a man feels that forgiveness is never possible, he begins to stop trying because he believes nothing will ever be enough. Another source of drama is exaggeration. Turning small issues into big problems, creating conflict out of situations that could be solved with a calm conversation. Every relationship will have disagreements, but not every disagreement needs to turn into war. The way challenges are handled makes all the difference. A calm voice can resolve what anger only multiplies. What makes drama truly destructive is the way it erodes respect. During heated conflicts, words are often spoken that cannot be taken back. Insults, accusations, threats. These things leave scars. A man may forgive, but he does not forget. And over time, those scars add up, creating distance that affection cannot always cover. The solution is not to avoid disagreements altogether, but to approach them with balance. When there is an issue, speak with clarity, not chaos. Express feelings without turning them into weapons. Choose to listen instead of only reacting. A man is not disgusted by honesty. He is disgusted by unnecessary drama that solves nothing and only creates more wounds. When peace becomes the foundation of communication, everything changes. A man who feels calm in his relationship will be more open, more loving, and more committed. But a man who feels constantly attacked will eventually close off his heart. Drama may win short-term attention, but it always loses long-term love. So remember, what keeps love alive is not noise, but calm. What makes a man stay is not constant testing, but the quiet comfort of knowing he is safe with you. In the end, men find drama disgusting not because they fear emotion, but because they desire stability. They know that love cannot grow in chaos. And if you wish for your bond to deepen, let go of unnecessary storms and create a space where peace is stronger than conflict. Dishonesty is one of the most destructive habits that can enter a relationship, and yet it often begins with the smallest of lies. A woman might think that hiding a detail, twisting the truth, or telling a white lie will avoid conflict or make things easier. But what is forgotten is that trust is like glass. Even a tiny crack weakens its strength, and once cracked, it is never quite the same again. A man may forgive dishonesty, but deep inside he will never look at the relationship with the same innocence he once did. And once trust is shaken, love begins to lose its foundation. For a man, honesty is more than just words. It is about knowing that the woman he loves is real with him, transparent and dependable. When he feels this, he gives his heart completely. But when he discovers lies, even small ones, he feels betrayed in a way that goes beyond the lie itself. Because behind every lie there is a message. I do not trust you with the truth. That message cuts deeper than the words spoken. It tells him that he is not worthy of honesty, that the bond he believed in was not as strong as he thought. Dishonesty is dangerous because it grows. One small lie often leads to another. And once a man senses dishonesty, even if he cannot prove it, he begins to question everything. If she lied about this, what else is she hiding? If she hid one thing, how can I be sure about the rest? This doubt becomes a shadow over every conversation, every promise, every moment shared. Even if the love remains, the peace disappears, and without peace, a relationship becomes fragile. What makes dishonesty particularly disgusting to men is not always the lie itself, but the feeling of being deceived. A man may tolerate mistakes, flaws and imperfections, but deception strikes at his pride and dignity. It makes him feel foolish, makes him feel that the woman he trusted played with his loyalty. And once a man feels betrayed in this way, he either builds walls around his heart or walks away entirely. It is also important to understand that dishonesty is not only about spoken lies. It can be dishonesty of actions, of intentions, of emotions. Saying one thing but meaning another. Pretending to be happy while hiding resentment. acting supportive while secretly criticizing. These silent forms of dishonesty can be just as damaging as spoken lies. A man values consistency. He wants to feel that what he hears and what he sees are aligned. When there is a gap between words and actions, confusion sets in, and with confusion comes mistrust. Many women tell lies not out of malice but out of fear. Fear of disappointing him, fear of rejection, fear of confrontation. But what they fail to see is that dishonesty causes a wound far greater than any truth ever could. A man may be hurt by the truth, but he can respect it. He may be angry for a while, but he will recover. What he cannot easily recover from is the realization that the woman he trusted most chose to deceive him. Honesty may create temporary discomfort, but dishonesty creates permanent scars. The beauty of honesty is that it builds security. When a man knows that he can rely on a woman's word, when he feels that she is open even about her mistakes, his loyalty deepens. He will give more, love stronger, and protect the bond fiercely. Because trust is not about perfection, it is about consistency. Being truthful even when it is difficult shows courage, and courage is far more attractive than any lie meant to impress. To protect love, there must be a commitment to truth. Not selective truth, not convenient truth, but full honesty. This does not mean being harsh or cruel with words. It means being authentic, being real, being willing to stand in vulnerability rather than hide behind deception. For a man, nothing is more valuable than knowing that the woman beside him is exactly who she says she is. In the end, men find dishonesty disgusting not because they expect perfection, but because they expect sincerity. They know that without truth there can be no trust, and without trust there can be no lasting love. So if you wish for your bond to endure, choose honesty every time, even when it feels difficult. Because honesty may test love, but dishonesty will always destroy it. Disrespect is one of the most damaging habits that can enter a relationship, because it cuts into the very core of a man's dignity. Love can survive differences, disagreements, even moments of weakness, but it cannot survive constant disrespect. When a man feels belittled, mocked, or spoken down to, he begins to lose not only his affection, but also his admiration for the woman he once adored. And admiration is the foundation of desire. Without it, love begins to dry out like a river with no source. Disrespect does not always appear as loud insults or harsh words. Sometimes it hides in small gestures, a dismissive tone, a rolling of eyes, constant interruptions when he speaks, or public criticism that makes him feel humiliated. These may seem minor in the moment, but each instance leaves a mark. A man may laugh it off once, he may ignore it twice, but deep down, every cut to his respect stays with him. Over time, those small wounds accumulate until they form a wall between him and the woman he loves. For many men, respect is even more important than affection. Affection touches the heart, but respect touches the soul. A man who feels respected will endure hardships, will fight battles, and will give everything he has to protect the bond he shares. But a man who feels disrespected begins to question why he should keep trying at all. Disrespect makes him feel unwanted in the very place he should feel most valued. And when that feeling settles in, distance is not far behind. It is also important to understand that men tie respect deeply to their sense of masculinity. To feel that his voice matters, that his role is acknowledged, that his opinions carry weight. These things are not about ego, they are about identity. When a woman consistently dismisses him or treats him as though his contributions are worthless, he feels stripped of that identity. A man who no longer feels like a man in his own relationship slowly begins to pull away, not out of anger, but out of self-preservation. Many women do not realize how their words or actions can shape the way a man sees himself. Criticism said in anger, comparisons that belittle, or jokes made at his expense can crush his spirit more than silence ever could. Respect is not about agreeing with everything he says or does, but it is about expressing disagreement without tearing down his worth. A respectful woman can correct, guide, and express her feelings while still preserving his dignity, and this balance is what keeps the bond strong. Disrespect also poisons intimacy. A man who feels humiliated or constantly corrected does not feel drawn closer, he feels pushed away. Emotional closeness cannot exist where there is contempt. Physical closeness cannot thrive where there is humiliation. Love needs admiration to stay alive, and disrespect kills admiration faster than anything else. To change this, one must cultivate the habit of appreciation. Instead of focusing on flaws, focus on strengths. Instead of highlighting mistakes, highlight efforts. Respect is not only about avoiding negativity, it is also about giving recognition where it is due. A simple acknowledgement like, "I value how hard you try," or "I trust your judgment," can restore a man's sense of worth in ways that criticism never could. Respect feeds his spirit, and when his spirit is fed, he gives back with even more loyalty and love. The truth is that every man, no matter how confident he appears, longs to feel admired by the woman he loves. He wants to know that in her eyes, he is enough, that she sees him as capable, worthy, and strong. When he feels this, he will do everything in his power to live up to that image. But when he feels the opposite, when her words and actions constantly make him feel less, he loses both the drive to give and the desire to stay. Men find disrespect disgusting because it strips away the very thing they hold dearest, their sense of value. Once a man feels disrespected, no amount of affection can replace the wound that disrespect leaves behind. Love cannot grow in an atmosphere of contempt. So if you want to hold on to love, if you want to inspire the best in a man, treat him with the same respect you wish to receive. Because respect is not only the foundation of trust, it is the breath that keeps love alive. When we look at all these habits together, complaining, comparison, control, neglect, drama, dishonesty, and disrespect, we begin to see a clear truth. Love is not destroyed in one moment. It is slowly weakened by repeated patterns that take away peace, trust, and admiration. A man does not walk away from love because he stops caring. He walks away because he no longer feels safe, valued, or respected in it. If these habits are removed, there is no need to force love to stay. Love will remain on its own because it will feel light, it will feel alive, and it will feel like home. So take this message not as criticism, but as guidance. Relationships are not about perfection. They are about awareness and growth. If you choose gratitude instead of complaint, appreciation instead of comparison, trust instead of control, presence instead of neglect, peace instead of drama, honesty instead of lies, and respect instead of contempt, you will not only keep love, you will help it flourish beyond what you imagined. I wish you the courage to reflect, the wisdom to change, and the strength to build a love that lasts. May your journey be filled with harmony, and may your relationships bring you joy, growth, and peace. Good luck on your path, and thank you for listening.